Good afternoon, Construction World. Christopher here from Oryx Care. Lindsay reached out to me last week and asked if I'd talk or put a few words together about people working in the construction industry that are doing repetitive tasks and some of the issues that may arise or that some people may have with these repetitive task exercises. And what I used to do, either if I was doing that myself or when I was a manager and looking after people. So not all types of work in the construction industry is repetitive, as we all know. While the job itself, let's use my background in pipelines, while the job itself is repetitive and the tasks associated repetitive, there's so many different variations with that work. What do I mean by that? Let's use the environment. We can go from the mountainous terrains of places like Tasmania down in the south of Australia to the deserts of Western Australia. Wherever we went, every day was different, and that's what I enjoyed. Now, while we were also working on pipeline projects, we were the maintenance department. So for us, every day was different. Sure, there was repetitive tasks that used to happen throughout the course of the day, especially for my role as the equipment manager in the latter years. I used to run the line every day. So getting out in the field was always good for me and for my mindset. But it was a very repetitive task of getting out there, inspecting machines, speaking to operators and all these kinds of things. But I never found it, while it was repetitive for me, it was a great way for me to keep in contact with all of the operators, you know. So for me, it was really, really good. And some of these operators were working in really remote areas. Of course, we had a lot of procedures put into place for people working in those remote areas. But I used to use it just to simply, you know, hey, how you going? What's happening? Is there anything we can help you with? And all these kinds of things. And just, you know, shoot the shit with them for a bit, you know. So from a manager's perspective, what I used to do with my team, now I had people like the fuel truck drivers. These guys were doing the same thing day in, day out. Also, the guys doing the servicing as well. Same story, same thing day in and day out. So it's always good to try and keep the morale up with those kinds of guys. One of the things that I used to do was try and put the mechanics with them whenever I could. So things like trenching machines and padding machines, things that could not stop during the day. You know, we always used to put as many people on it as we could when we needed to do a big service on these machines. So, of course, with a lot of people working on it, morale was always good. You know, people seem to swing in and get things going a lot more when they're working as part of a larger group. And I don't know, everyone seems to help each other a lot more when you build a really good team. And that's what we did. We built an exceptional team of mechanics and transport professionals, you know. We prided ourselves on that. So I never took them for granted as well. So the fuel truck drivers, you know, always, forever talking to those guys and asking, is everything okay? Can we do anything? Is anything, you know, hindering your job out there? Because although it's a very repetitive job, that type of work, like filling up machines every single day, sometimes it's the smallest of things that can help, you know, like give you an example. When we're in the hills in Tasmania, I was actually driving a fuel truck in those days as well as mechanicking. And some areas, I mean, we had a gate after a gate after a gate after a gate. Boss wouldn't help me at all. So I used to tee up with the mechanic to travel with the mechanic, so we could at least leapfrog the gates of opening, getting out, and all these kinds of things. So, you know, I always used to speak to my guys, is there anything that we can help you with, you know? And when we had big gate areas, we used to put a guy in the truck with him to help him open and close the gates. Just those little things made a hell of a difference with the guys that are doing those types of repetitive tasks. If you're a worker, if you're a guy in the field, you know, like, put your hand up. If there is something that you need to make your job a little bit easier, you know, the bosses, sometimes they just don't know. Sometimes they've been so far removed from it, or they come from a much different generation, where if you whinged and complained, you were down the road. And look, I don't see it as whinging and complaining either. I just see it as, look, this is going to help me do my job better, which is going to get more production out of me, you know. So if you ask the question and it doesn't go anywhere, so be it. That's how it goes sometimes with some companies and some people that you work for, unfortunately. But at least you've asked, at least you've tried to do the right thing. The other thing that you can do, especially in construction, is you can switch people up sometimes. Sometimes it's extremely difficult. I mean, if you're a welder, a pipeline welder, extremely difficult to switch you out into other areas. But having said that, when the pipeline welders weren't working, we used to use them all the time with the maintenance on the machines or building particular pieces for equipment. So that was really important as well for them, and it was great for them. They used to enjoy it. Well, a lot of them used to enjoy it. Some of them would just whinge for the sake of whinging, of course, but we've all got people like that. But if you have the opportunity, if you're, say, a dozer operator, to switch them up and just replace them out in a different section of your job sometimes can make the world of difference. Now, sometimes they mightn't want to do that. Sometimes they're extremely happy where they are. They know what they're doing, and it's kind of it's a second nature to them, especially with some of these guys digging ditch with excavators and things like that. But having said that, at least you ask the question. Ask the question, would you like, is there some way that we can mix this up for you? Can we put you on backfill for a while, or whatever the case may be, Just ask the question. It takes nothing out of your day, and maybe if it does, it probably takes a little bit of extra planning for something. But I tell you what, the results and the rewards are really, really well worth it, for the simple reason that you're going to get more production. You're going to keep your employees, which is really, really important, but you're going to keep your employees on site. You're going to get a lot more respect out of them if you give them respect in return. So just some of those little tips and tricks that I've learnt over the years, and some, I had to learn them. They didn't always work, and I had to get to that point where I understood how people work and how to get the most out of people, and how to understand their needs a little bit better, so we could be more productive. So repetitive tasks are part of the industry. Doesn't really matter what part of the construction industry you're in, but it is part of it. So just be aware of that, and especially when you've got really shitty environments. That's when I was at my lowest on as a mechanic out in the field, was when the climate, it was continually raining, wet, mud, all these kinds of things. It was just, no matter what you did, you just felt like you were constantly underwater, kicking like shit to try and keep above water. So be aware of it if you're a supervisor. If you're out in the field working away every day, be aware of it yourself, for the simple reason that you're going to keep yourself a lot safer, and potentially you're going to keep yourself alive, because a lot of mistakes that happen out there come through complacency. Complacency starts with repetitive tasks and thinking that, you've done it before, you know exactly how it happens, and cutting corners with repetitive tasks. So stay vigilant, stay aware, and if you're a manager, look after your people. I hope that helps, and I hope that answers your question, Lou. Thanks.